It is Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025, and I am down over 3%. But it's actually doing a lot better than earlier when I was down, I want to say 8% at one point, maybe. I guess Robinhood's only saying 6%, but I think Robinhood was down 8% at one point today. And my Roth IRA somewhat doing better, but still down 1.85%. If we take a look at my week, I am down over 4%. My past month, slightly green, but that could possibly change going into the later half of this month. But the past 3 months, it's over 16.5%. Year to date, it is 119 now instead of 120 like it was before, or 146, 150% for the year. But past year, I am slightly below 200% now. And of course, if you look at the all-time, I am now 442%. Let's take a look at my covered call positions. Since today was a bit of a red day, my 160 strike expiring in November is actually up $120. And obviously my two Palantir covered calls are still deep in the red. And I will say Palantir has been surprisingly strong. And I suspect that most of that is because it's one of those stocks that people just keep saying it's overvalued. So people keep shorting it. And that kind of, I guess, stabilizes the stock because a lot of people are shorting it, but a lot of people are buying it. And if shorts start to feel like they're losing money, they'll close out their shorts, and that also can help support the stock price. So I don't know. Obviously, this is all just speculation. But when it comes to me personally, I've made my money in Palantir. I'm very happy with it. I'm grateful for Palantir. It's not my number one gainer because obviously that's Robinhood, but I'm still happy that I made a lot of money in Palantir. Thank you to Alex Karp and the whole Palantir team. I wish I still had some shares left in my Robinhood that wasn't up for collateral, just so I can still be somewhat of a shareholder. But that is still a possibility. If Palantir dips below 160 by November, then obviously my covered call will expire worthless. But I also have my two Robinhood cash or covered calls that are over $500 a piece. I have one 155 strike that is still slightly in the red, but that could also change maybe later this month. Then we have two at the 170 strikes. I will probably hold those until expiration just because I think 170 is kind of unlikely. Even though $200 a share for Robinhood is still possible, I think 170 is a good place to still hold on to a covered call. And now if we take a look at my top 10 holdings, we have Robinhood that is down over 4%, of course. Nike surprisingly strong today. Palantir almost down 4%. And then we have Pepsi and REPX holding it down, along with a little bit of MAA, of course. And if we take a look at my transaction history, nothing much has really changed other than REPX did increase their dividend, I noticed. So it used to be a 0.38, I believe, but now it's 0.4. So I'm happy to see that. It seems like their business is doing good, even though they're a very small company and there's not a whole lot of news and coverage that comes out. If somehow somebody at REPX is watching this, I definitely think you guys should at least have an X account, right, where you could post updates to shareholders and just the business community in general, because a lot of financial people, a lot of business people do use X. So if you have a business account for the REPX company where you just post updates as to what you're doing, you don't have to post anything political, obviously, just post updates as to what you're doing, keep the business community up to date. I think that will instill a lot more investor confidence, which would help out the stock price and just the business overall, because it feels like I'm the only one that talks about this company. Sometimes I see like a post here and there on X from like obscure accounts, but for the most part, REPX does not get talked about at all. And as for my Robinhood covered call yesterday, unfortunately, I did close a little bit too early, because if I would have held until today and then closed it, let's see where it would be right now. So it looks like it's roughly $650 right now, and I closed it for about $900. So I would have made a little bit more money, but it is what it is. And something else that I wanted to talk about that I saw on X was this post that said the Louisiana governor warns residents SNAP benefits will not be loaded on cards in November due to government shutdown. And I don't know if this is true or not, but if this is, that is a pretty big deal. And I think one of the reasons why we saw stocks like Netflix being down 10% today or over 10% is because, well, if you have to choose between food and like what I would consider mediocre entertainment on Netflix, well, then obviously you're going to choose food. So definitely it is something to consider whenever people are debating on whether or not this is a short-term bottom, if we're going to go up from here, if this is just going to be a short-term correction and then it's just going to be up only going into 2026. I think this is actually towards the top. It seems like we're kind of getting close to the top and we've hit that ceiling. And I suspect that 2026, 2027 are going to be kind of boring years for the stock market, or like just corrections and just a lot of fear, right? Maybe possibly a bear market as well. All right, so now we get to your guys' comments on my previous video, and I think I only had 3 on my last one, but we have Too Suave making his return back to the channel. He says hello, okay, but we have Luke that says, yo, been following you for a month. Stay strong, brother. Seems like yesterday you were at the 300K mark, and for sure, I think definitely I will get back up there one way or another, whether it's through Robinhood or through my other stock picks or whatever. Maybe just the overall market goes back up. But honestly, like I said, I'm not stressing it. I got my covered calls, so I have a little bit of a cash cushion. Not as much as I would like, but I think I'll be fine in the short term, medium term. And then I can close out those covered calls or just let them expire worthless. And then if we possibly go back up, obviously I can reposition into those covered calls. If not, it is what it is. Robinhood is still a great company. I think they're still innovating. They're still pushing out new features. And it doesn't seem like they're slowing down. Just because even though I think the whole stock tokenization thing is a little bit too early, they at least seem like they have ambitions and future goals that they want to meet, right? So that is a good thing to see as a shareholder. And obviously I have other stocks like REPX for a little bit more stability. Like I said, they increased their dividend recently. I have stocks like Pepsi and MAA, which is a REIT that I hold. So a little bit of cash flow, a little bit of stability in my account. So it shouldn't be too bad for me. But we have Tia that says crypto seems bullish for the long run. Any thoughts of trying it? Never mind. I just seen the Soul. Great work. So I think I have like 3 Solana coins in my Robinhood at least. I think I had a bit more in the past, but I took a little bit of profits on those. And I wish I would have bought a lot more into crypto, specifically Solana and Ethereum, just because they do offer a yield. But who knows, maybe in this next correction or bear market that comes up, I'll be able to position a little bit heavily. But yeah, we'll just see where it goes from there. And real quickly, I just wanted to plug in my X account for anybody that isn't yet already aware. If you guys wanted to follow me or chat with me a little bit off of YouTube, I do post somewhat regularly on my X, not a whole lot, but sometimes, so you guys can catch me in the comments. But I did post my monthly gains yesterday. Here I posted the divergence that I noticed yesterday with my IRA and my main account. And then here I posted my performance for today, along with some of my gains on my Robinhood covered calls. And then here I did post, or I reposted, I should say, SoFi, getting into options trading a lot more. So this is long overdue. Robinhood for the longest has been the aggressive innovator, I would say. But SoFi is definitely a decent competitor for Robinhood. And I also think SoFi has a lot of potential in the future. Even though I am a majority Robinhood guy, I lean more into Robinhood. And I think they've been a better company so far, at least when it comes to innovation and just the value that they provide for traders, investors, and even savers. For the longest, they've had a higher savings yield than SoFi, but recently, I think SoFi has had a slightly higher yield for savers. So I think SoFi is slowly catching up as a competitor.